The teachers and cops, they try. But what do they know? Have they ever freaked out? Are they locked up like we are? Maybe the kids will listen if you let us tell it, like it is.
Hi, my name is Steve. It's time we took a look at dope from our own level. So here it is, the drug scene, like it is. Now I'm 19. All the other guys you'll hear from are 12 to 16 and a half. They're all drug addicts. My conversations with them were all recorded inside corrective institutions. In other words, all of them are locked up. You're not going to hear from any teachers or politicians or head shrinkers or police. Just kids. I want you to consider me as a reporter, not as a self-appointed advisor. I can't tell you what to do. You have to make your own decisions. Of course, that's what it's all about, making decisions, that is. Most of the kids you will hear from have gone all the way up to hard stuff and have been busted at least 3 times. We recorded them inside the corrective institutions. The only restriction was that no names be used. I was given a chance to kind of get to know the kids, before we recorded, but nobody put any words into my mouth. I did my best, of course, to keep from putting words into their mouths. I'm grateful to the kids for treating me like what I am, not a square, but just a straight. Their answers to my questions were unrehearsed, and I think honest. So away we go, first to the inside of a girls' correctional facility. With these first 2 girls, I guess we talked for about a half an hour before we opened the microphone, about sports and movies and music, stuff like that. I think they were a little suspicious of me at first, but it wasn't too long before we began to relate. As we switch now to the tape, I'm rapping with these 2 girls, and I've just finished asking one of them to describe how she started getting high.
My first experience with drugs was, there was this friend of mine, and he turned me on to some grass, and we were with a few other people. And I went with the same person to this place, and I took some acid, and that was a confusing, kind of scary trip, but I remember what people said to me not to get scared because that would put you on a bummer. So all I saw was the cars spreading apart and stuff, and it was scary, but it was an experience.
What led to your arrest? How did it evolve, your life with dope?
Well, after that I started on speed. I got scared of that, and then I started with Reds. And my first arrest was on an overdose with Reds, and that scared me away from them. And the second time, I was under the influence, and they arrested me for that.
Under the influence of what?
LSD.
What form were you taking speed? I mean, were you, how did you take it?
Injecting it.
In your arm, in your veins?
Mm-hmm.
Could you recall any specific effects of that as opposed to, say, LSD? Did you hallucinate on that?
Mm-hmm. But it was more of a scary trip than, like, acid was. It wasn't that scary, but speed was, because I blacked out, and I hallucinated good things on acid, but on speed I hallucinated gypsies and witches and stuff.
I see. Well, how was Reds? What was the effect? I mean, describe that. Reds is Seconal. Is that what it is?
And Tuinal too.
It's a common sleeping pill, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was that? What was that like? Did you go to sleep?
Yeah.
What happened before you went to sleep? What happens?
You stumble around and take a little sleep here and there and bump your head against the wall.
Do you try to stay awake?
Yeah.
Is that the point of the whole thing, to try to stay awake?
Mm-hmm.
But after you were busted the first time, what happened?
What do you mean?
Like you said, you OD'd Reds.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Like, the police caught you, and then what'd they do to you?
And I got family counseling and went home. See, I don't see how that helps,
Well, I just want to get everything involved, so just as far as just points on, just experiences. In other words, so kids can hear experiences of what has happened to people. Okay, well, like if you're out again and you're the same age again, knowing what you know now.
The only thing that I would do was smoke grass.
That's all you do is smoke grass?
Because the rest of them, I know that it messed me up because I still have flashbacks and I have to take tranquilizers.
You still have flashbacks. What do you believe it's from? The flashbacks are from?
Acid.
From acid? How many acid trips did you take?
I don't know. A lot. Twice a week for a year, so.
And how about you? How'd you get started on drugs?
Well, my first experience was one of my girlfriends had turned me on to grass. Then after a while, like I was smoking grass for about 5 or 6 months, you know, and that's all I was doing was smoking grass. And then, you know, I went on to a couple bigger things, like I started taking Reds and Downers and stuff like that. And it was like, the big thing was to how many you could take with, and still stay awake. For about 7 months, I was just like smoking hash, smoking opium, and taking Downers and acid every once in a while or something like that. And then I started shooting heroin, and I shot heroin for about 5.5 months, and then I got busted.
So you shot heroin for 5.5 months. How did you get it?
Well, my boyfriend had been pushing, so he'd have a lot of money, and he'd buy a large quantity of it. Then we'd sell some of it and make the money back, and then just shoot the rest.
How'd this relate to your boyfriend? Like,
It was just like, it was something we decided to try together, you know. And then we liked it, so we just kept buying it and getting off stuff.
if you could start over again, at what point would you cut it off, or would you cut it off at the beginning? In other words, your involvement.
I don't know. I don't really see how I'd cut it off. Because, like, if I could think of something better to do, I probably wouldn't have done that to begin with. But, I don't know. I learned so much from it that...
In other words, you learned good things about dope or good things about things in general?
No, about life and stuff. It's like, I wouldn't recommend anybody to go out and get high, but it's like I had learned so much from it.
Is it possible, do you think, to become naturally high? I mean, you know, without drugs?
I could get a good feeling just being out in the country and riding a horse. The same kind of feeling that I could get with acid. If it was the right day and it was green and everything.
Well, I think one of the biggest things, of course, is, the whole question is trying to make it the right day all the time,
Mhm.
When you get out, you think what do you think will happen, What does it depend on, if you go back to dope or if you don't go back to dope?
Well, I'm not going to be going back to dope, Like, I learned a lot from it, but I definitely won't go back to it. And, like, now I can see that it was just like a hole that I was in, And even though I had learned a lot from it, if I wouldn't have gotten busted, by now I'd probably be dead. And I know that for a fact, the way I was shooting. Like, every day it was getting to be a point where I was shooting more and more. And I didn't even care. I never even thought about it, that I could kill myself.
You say you won't go back now. Why do you think a lot of kids do go back? Like, say, in other words, they get busted and they get completely physically off of it. Do you think it's because they go back to the same friends? I don't mean to put words into your mouth, but do you think it's because they go back to the same place and the same friends and the same crummy, just depressed place and feeling or whatever?
No, not necessarily, because I guess some people, if they're weak enough and they go back to their same friends and stuff and they see them getting high, they'd start getting high too. But if you're strong enough to go back to them with the feeling that you could be happy without going to dope, you could just see them getting high and just, like, feel sorry for them, but you don't have to have dope. Like, I still know people that are on hard stuff, but, like, there's a lot of people that I know that are still smoking grass and stuff like that. Not a big extreme. Like, if they went to a party and grass was there, they'd smoke it, but they wouldn't go out and buy any of it. It's like, it wouldn't make me want to get high,
On anything?
No.
How about you? What age were you when you started?
11.
I started when I was 14 and a half.
What age are you now?
14.
I'm 16.
About dope in general, do you have a story you'd like to relate or anything like that at all that might be interesting?
I think the only thing that kept me from using heroin was my father, because I think I would have gone to it if it wasn't for him, because he was a heroin addict himself and he got killed from it, so I learned from that. But if it wasn't for him, I would have gone to harder stuff. And I don't recommend dope for anybody.
Do you think you'll go back to any forms of it? Will you smoke or whatever when you get out?
I think it depends on what happens when I get out there. I think if I get around the other people again, I think there's a pretty good chance that maybe I'll go back to smoking grass. Like I said, acid has done me pretty bad, and so has speed because my mind is kind of gone. It's just scary little things that happen.
Because marijuana appears to be the threshold drug, I asked the same question of the other girl.
Well, it's not like before. Grass did lead me to harder stuff because I wasn't getting that high from grass, so I was going on to things that would get me even higher. But now that I know, that I would get trapped into that, I could probably go out there and just smoke grass without going on to harder drugs because I know that it could happen again. I have that knowledge.
You say you could smoke grass?
I probably could without, going on to bigger stuff. I'm not sure if I would.
We leave the girls now for a few minutes and visit a correctional institution for boys. There's no such thing as a soundproof room in these facilities. You probably heard the jets passing over us back when I was talking to the girls. Later, one of the girls told me that she bet it was a Jefferson airplane. And you'll hear some more strange sounds probably here too. I'm talking with a 15-year-old who first smoked pot when he was 11. He's been busted a lot of times for many offenses. This last time for GTA. That's Grand Theft Auto. I just asked him how he let himself get tangled with dope.
Well, when I was in junior high, I was walking, doing to my class, and then I met some friends, and you know how you get to know friends, and you get to hang around with each other. So one time he came up to me, we went to a place, a hippie place, and I had all these psychedelic things there. And he came up to me with a bag of grass. And I said, grass? I didn't know what it was. I thought it was grass on the lawnmower. What he told me was marijuana. And so he got a little pipe and he stuck it in there, and then we started smoking it. And I got high.
I asked him if he ever felt the urge to go to stronger stuff.
I was too scared to go up to acid and LSD and stuff like that. I didn't want my mind to be, all messed up, and be dumb and all that.
I then asked him whether, as he continued, to smoke grass, if he needed more of it at a time or less to get high.
See, the first time I took it, it was, I had to take more. Then after a while, you get to take a lot. Then all you need is a little bit, not too much, and you get high.
What he had just told me was what I had heard from others. The longer he smoked grass, the less it took to get him high. You know why? Medical experts say this is because THC, that's the thing that gets you in pot, well, this accumulates in the system. Now, I'm no scientist, and my job is not to draw conclusions, but as long as we're letting these kids say anything good they'd like to say about pot, or anything else, it's only fair to add here that reputable doctors believe that pot interferes with the function of the liver, and that is accumulative, and that it definitely can lead to potentially lethal concentrations of other dangerous stuff in the system, which the liver would otherwise throw off. If you want to check up on me here, well, this comes from Science Magazine, Mr. Warren Kornberg, editor, writing in the LA Times. Okay, but getting back to the fellow I was talking with, well, I said to him, some students I've discussed with tell me that they can study better for a test if they're high on pot.
No, see, they think they do better, but they do it wrong. So it's better not take marijuana, because you do it right and you know what you're doing, but when you're high, you think you're doing it good, but you ain't.
If you had a chance to start all over again, and you could manage never again to get hooked on any drug, would you consider that a better position than you're in, say, now?
I'd be in better position not taking it. Marijuana, it's not that bad, it won't affect your mind, it's just a little trip for a while. But if you take like acid or LSD, so that will affect your mind. But I knew I was gonna be dumb anyway, not taking it. So it doesn't really matter.
How dumb he is or how smart he is, well, that's not for me to say. I make two observations. His IQ is above normal, and his drug experience has been limited solely to pot. But now we go back to the girl's place as we meet a cute blonde, 16 years old.
One day, I was just over my girlfriend's house, and her brother and a lot of his friends were there. And they were all kind of stumbling around. And it just looked like fun. So my girlfriend asked me, hey, you want to take some reds? So I didn't know what they were, but she goes, they're really out of sight, it'll get you get high. It's like, all right, so I took 2, and I really was doing really idiotic things, like driving a car and I didn't know how to drive, and wrecking cars and just things like that. And then after that, I just started smoking weed, like on Friday nights and stuff, and slumber parties and stuff like that. And then that wasn't doing me anything, after a while weed just got to be it wasn't even anything anymore. And
Well, I don't want you to just, if this is really true, say it, but, I don't...
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it just really didn't, get me, I just didn't like it anymore. So my girlfriend asked me, you want to take some acid? And I heard acid was pretty good. So I took it, and I really dug it. And truthfully, I still do. I really dig it. I don't take it now, but because I'm locked up, but I dug it, and it gave me kind of like I felt like when I was on it, like there was something about me that other people just had to see. Like, I felt like I was really a beautiful person, and like I could just give out so much love to everyone around. And that, it was just like I was just glowing, And it was really kind of a nice feeling. And then I had a bad trip once. I took acid, and I was drunk at the same time. And I didn't know how many times I had 2 tabs in my pocket, but I had forgot that I'd already dropped one of them. So I dropped the other one, and I was coming down, up, whatever you want to call it, from being drunk, and next thing I knew, helicopters were attacking me, and I was just kind of flipping out. I really didn't know what was happening, and that just kind of stuck with me, and I'm kind of wary of taking acid again, but sometimes it can be really a good feeling.
What had you heard about acid before you took acid the first time?
It's just supposed to be like, you could make anything you want it to be, like you could look at a chair and say, okay, chair, I wish you were a bike, and concentrate hard enough and it would become that. And, I thought this would really be a trip, and, why not try it?
What had you heard from the so-called, like, authorities on it?
Oh, that they had just, when police would come and talk at the schools and stuff, they'd say, oh, you'll go insane and you'll end up in an insane asylum and you won't know where you're at or who you are and all this. I always considered that a lot of bull. I always kind of just laughed at them and said, well, I'll believe it when I see it.
What about physical things?
They said that acid would break your chromosomes and you have deformed children and things, but I guess I'm just the type of person who has to see it to believe it.
I asked her if she had any advice to pass along to younger kids who hadn't yet fooled around with drugs.
I feel like I want to, give all I can to kids who are are just getting around the stages of where people are going to be turning them on, and stuff. And I just, I can't say don't do it, because I know how when I was their age, I wouldn't listen to anybody know how. It's just like, well, you want to find out for yourself. It's something like you've got to experience for yourself. And I don't know, it just really, it messed me up. It's gotten me where I am. And it really has just caused a lot of hassles with a lot of people. And I wouldn't suggest it for anybody to even start it.
When you got busted, how did you feel? And after that,
When I did get busted and end up in, way down in juvenile hall, it was kind of like, I didn't even know what happened the night before. And I'd wake up and, there I was. locked up, and I started getting, it was really a stupid thing. I mean, I was really dumb when I was doing these things, because like I'd come home so loaded that I couldn't even walk, and I knew that my parents would bust me.
What will happen when you get out? What physically will happen and where will you go?
Well, with myself, I hope that I can go out there and just really make it, and in school and stuff. Like I'm trying to make a whole new start, but I'm starting to go to a different school as soon as I get out of here, because mostly the circle of friends I had in my other school, there was a lot of dope, and I hope by then I'll be a strong enough person to say no.
Another of the girls first got stoned on pills prescribed by a doctor for a nervous condition. She found out she could get, as she said it, out of sight simply by taking more of the pills than she was supposed to take according to the prescription. When she related this in a group session, one of the other girls asked her,
When you were taking the dope prescribed by the doctor, did you look at it like dope, or did you look at it like medicine from a doctor?
No, I looked at it as dope. Like, I'd go to school, and I changed schools, and I hung around with these friends who'd bring pills to school from their parents' cabinet, and they'd say, hey, want some of this? And I'd always take it, and I'd go, well, look what I have. And they said, nah, that's nothing, and so I kept it, and like, I knew what it was. I knew what it was doing to me.
That was the only experience you had?
No. After that, I got busted then for runaway, and after I got out, I dropped some downers. I don't know what they were, but sleeping pills, I guess. But like, I stumbled around and stuff, and then I kept taking just anything I could pick up. Just didn't even have to have a name on it. I'd just take it. And then in February of last year, I smoked some grass for my first time, and I liked it. And then I went on to acid and speed and things like that.
How are you taking speed?
Orally, dropping it.
In like pills?
Mm-hmm.
How does speed, what was it like, just speed?
Well, it's just like I'd lay down and you couldn't sleep, but I'd just lay down and feel myself just floating around, just feeling free.
Did you ever have any bad experiences on speed or acid or whatever?
Well, my girlfriend's mom went away for the weekend in the summer, and we all gathered down at her house, and they had Reds and speed and stuff. So one day I dropped Reds, and I wasn't down off of them, whatever. I took some speed, and then people started really messing with my mind, and I saw people trying to burn me and kill me, and it kept on all night long. I'd sit up, and the refrigerator played to me music, any kind of music I wanted to hear, and I got up and started cleaning up the house, and I turned on the vacuum cleaner, and it started talking to me, and I'd talk to it, and just all kinds of, it was like everyone was after me, and everything that came out of the vacuum cleaner was against me.
Did you ever take it again after having a bad experience?
Yeah, I took it lots of times after that, because it didn't scare me enough, even though it should have. And like after that, like, I couldn't remember as well things, and it's just like a gap right there when I started trying to think real hard.
I asked them if they had any overall observations that they'd like to make, about their experiences with drugs.
Just that there was a pretty bad experience waking up with someone you don't know, and just things like that.